I'm Dr. Mike Gradisar, Head of Sleep Science at Sleep Cycle. I'm a clinical psychologist specialising in sleep disorders, and I've been helping people sleep better for the past 20 years. But I haven't been satisfied with just helping people in my own hometown. Basically, I've come to Sleep Cycle to help millions of people around the world, including you. Parents, imagine if I told you of a technique, one that was gentle, it didn't involve any crying, but it helped your baby sleep better. And, as a bonus, is backed by science. It's a bit hard to believe, isn't it? But it's true. Keep watching to find out. About 1 in every 4 parents say that their 6-month-old baby has a sleep problem. There's a common misperception that once you have your baby that they should be able to sleep quite fine. And certainly many mums that are in parents groups will hear stories as such. However, what if I told you that not necessarily every baby is born the same? If you sort of think about their ability to be able to walk, their ability to talk, all of these skills come at different time points. And it's the same for sleep. We shouldn't necessarily expect our babies to fall asleep and sleep through the night straight away. One of the reasons is that it takes a while for the maturity of their sleep biology to actually kick in, and for most infants, this occurs around 6 months of age. One of those important aspects is called sleep homeostatic pressure, which is way too many syllables. So let's just call it sleep pressure. Now, with sleep pressure, it might start at, say, 6 months of age, but it lasts a lifetime. It's with us all the time. And here's how it works. Essentially what happens is that the longer that you stay awake, the more pressure builds up to fall asleep. And therefore, the later someone goes to bed, the quicker they should fall asleep. And then the hope is that they'll be able to sleep through the night. So what we're going to be talking about is a particular technique that you can actually try with your own infant if they are experiencing a sleep problem. And understand, this particular sleep technique has been backed by science. We've actually tested this before, so your own infant is not the guinea pig. This particular technique, it's called bedtime fading. What happens with bedtime fading is that it's a little bit of an experiment, really trying to sort of test where is the ideal bedtime for your particular infant. So let's go through a quick example. So imagine this is your baby's bedtime, and say you've done the classic thing where you put them to bed at 7 p.m. and this is the night time, and this is when they wake up in the morning. Now, you might sort of find that at about 7 o'clock at night, they're sort of still taking a long time to fall asleep. So the idea behind this technique called bedtime fading is that you just delay their bedtime, say, for example, from 7 o'clock to 7:15. What that does is it gives your baby that extra amount of time to be awake, to build up enough sleep pressure so that they can hopefully fall asleep quicker. Now, do that for a couple of nights, test it out. Even if you've gone from 7 o'clock to 7:15 and that quite hasn't done it, by all means, go from 7:15 to 7:30. Again, repeat that experiment, try it for a couple of nights. Is your baby falling asleep quicker? And you just continue that process until you go later and later, only by 15-minute increments, and then eventually you'll find that your baby is falling asleep faster and then hopefully sleeping throughout the night. Now, if you've tried this technique and you've found what you think is the ideal bedtime, but your baby is sort of still experiencing some sort of like reaction to it in terms of like feeling a little bit too sleepy, if that's the case, drop it back by 15 minutes and maybe you've experimented enough and you've found your baby's ideal bedtime. This is the concept of bedtime fading. And what we've just done is that we've applied it to the nighttime. So the next question is, what happens when it comes to the daytime? What happens with naps? So infants actually do something that's different during the day, which is that they nap. Now, napping can be variable. It can be different between different infants. Sometimes you'll have the classic sort of morning, afternoon nap. Sometimes infants will nap in the afternoon only. Now, the concept still applies. Essentially, what you want to be looking at is the amount of time that your baby is staying awake. So really, the best way to do this, and a lot of parents do this anyway, is try to sort of measure your baby's sleep. Track it, journal it, whatever sort of works for you, but try to keep those naps as consistent as possible when you're performing this technique. So, for example, if your baby, you've worked out their ideal bedtime and wake-up time, and say, for example, their wake-up time is 7 a.m., then you want to start to look at what happens from 7 a.m. through to when they have their first nap. If they fall asleep with their nap, quite fine, don't touch it. What you want to ensure, though, is with this process, that the end of the afternoon nap, that there's enough time for them to build up sleep pressure until they fall asleep at night. That's the most crucial time. So as you can imagine, there's a little bit of experimentation that happens here, but start firstly with their nighttime bedtime. Once you've worked that out, then move on to the daytime naps. So in 2016, we published a randomized control trial having a look specifically at bedtime fading and really to test, does it work? We basically gave the instructions that I've given you about bedtime fading to one group of parents, and to another group of parents, we gave them some basic information about sleep. Now, what did we find? Within 1 week, we found that infants were taking less time to fall asleep, and for some of them, they were sleeping a lot better during the night. So one takeaway from that particular study is that even after 1 week, your infant can be sleeping better, and specifically falling asleep quicker. If you still find that they're waking up during the night after 1 week, just persist with this. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for them to actually catch up, for the sleep pressure to build up long enough to be able to sleep through the night. Another study that we did was to actually look at the driving performance of parents of infants who slept well and who didn't sleep well. And what did we find? Well, for the parents that had infants that slept well, they drove better, as you can potentially imagine. So parents, please understand, we want you to take care of yourselves as well. If you are driving a car, you've got to look after yourself because you'll also be looking after your infant. It's very similar to the instructions that you're provided when you're on an airplane. In the case of an emergency, if an oxygen mask should fall down, you've got to take care of yourself before you take care of your child. It's the same sort of thing. We understand you want the best for your child, also take care of yourself. So let's summarize. When it comes to sleep issues and identifying whether your baby has a sleep problem, you only need one parent to believe that. You don't necessarily have to have a consensus. Please listen to the parent that's saying, I believe my infant has a sleep problem. Understand that before you try any of these techniques, please go and see your family doctor to rule out any medical issues. If your doctor has basically said there's no medical reason, then you can move on to this behavioral technique. Sleep pressure is an incredibly powerful thing that you can use to your advantage and to your baby's advantage. When it comes to bedtime fading, step by step, just experiment with when they ideally need to go to bed and just go from there. And just please understand that you're doing a great job. You are essentially doing the best for your baby 24 hours a day. You give them great sleep, you're going to feel better, you'll be able to enjoy that time with your infant as well. And remember, you can always go to the Sleep Cycle website. I have an area there that you can check out more information about infant sleep. Understand that the more that you learn, the more confident you will feel. And good on you for doing this, because you are doing the best you can for your infant. The better they sleep at night, the better you'll sleep, and you're just going to have a great time. So keep going.